got promoted because you were the best doer on the team. You were the one who could swoop in, fix the problem, save the client relationship, and hit the deadlines when everyone else was panicking. And you were rewarded for being a high-level doer. But when you become a leader, that instinct to swoop in and fix it stops being your superpower and starts being your kryptonite. In other words, the skills that got you here are going to keep you stuck here. Hi, I'm Jen Arnold, and I help new leaders navigate their first management role. If you've ever thought it was just easier, faster, and just better to do the work yourself, I get it. Because it's true. It is absolutely easier, faster, and better to do it yourself, but it's stopping your growth and the growth of your team. I had a client, we'll call her Ashley. She spent her first 18 months as a manager rewriting her team's emails, tweaking spreadsheets, and holding all the deadlines and timelines for her team. She told herself she was maintaining quality, and she thought she was being a good leader, a supportive leader, a helpful leader. But actually, she was digging herself a hole. Let's be clear. If you're spending your days doing the work you used to do, you're not leading. You're just a highly paid assistant to your own direct reports. We need to shift your identity. And I want you to think about your role differently. I want you to think about your team as a band. Now that you're a leader, your job is to be the band manager, not the lead singer. The band manager is backstage. Their job is to book the right gigs, ensure the acoustics are good, make sure the equipment works, and ensure the band gets paid. If the lead singer misses a note, the band manager isn't going to run on stage and grab the mic. That would be insane. It would ruin the show. Nobody's paying for the band manager to sing. They coach the performance. They don't do the performance. You need to stop trying to be the star of the show and start building the stage for your people to shine. So let's go back to Ashley. So she spent 18 months fixing her employee's work. On paper, her employee looked great. The presentations were great because Ashley refined them. Their emails were clear and concise because Ashley edited them. But when Ashley started to show up to our coaching sessions, she was on the verge of tears most times. So we spent our time untangling the problem that she had unknowingly created. We spent the next 6 months helping Ashley collect facts, trying to coach the employee, see if they needed training, so she could understand through evidence or facts if her team member could even do the job. Because up until then, she had fixed every mistake that person had made. There was no record of poor performance. And by swooping in, Ashley robbed that person of the struggle. And I know it's hard to see a team member struggle, but the struggle is where the learning happens. Every time you swoop in and fix their work, they don't know they're falling short. They don't know your expectations because you've never told them. And worst of all, you start to resent them for not being as good as you are when you haven't given them the chance to be. So how do you stop the madness? How do you stay in the band manager role when your anxiety and your fear and your control are just screaming at you to jump on stage and grab the mic? Okay, here's a filter you can use. I'm borrowing this from Amazon. They have a decision-making model, and it's called one-way and two-way door framework. Here's the concept. A two-way door is a decision that is reversible. It's low risk. You can walk through the door, you don't like what you see, you can turn around and walk back. A one-way door, on the other hand, is irreversible. It's high stakes. Once you walk through that door, the door is shut, you cannot go back. Most of the things you're micromanaging right now, they're two-way doors, but you're treating them like one-way doors. So before you jump in to fix something, I want you to ask yourself this question. What happens if I let this go? Let's go through some scenarios. Scenario A, a report comes to you, the font is different than what you would have chosen. The phrasing isn't exactly your style. That's a two-way door. It's reversible, it's low risk. Walk away. Their way isn't wrong, it's just not your way. If you start changing it, especially without telling them, you're micromanaging. Scenario B, let's just say that report has some data that's a little bit off. The logic is a little bit weak. It's still a two-way door, but your actions are different. This is a coaching conversation. You can say something like, hey, I noticed that the data didn't really line up. Not sure about this section. I couldn't get the logic of it. I need you to take another pass at it. Let's meet again tomorrow at 2. You send them back, you get them to own the report and be responsible for bringing you an updated version. Scenario C, they're about to attach said report in an email that is harsh to a client, one of your biggest clients. That's a one-way door. That's catastrophic. You may lose a client. This is the only time you step in. You stop the email, you explain the impact, and you treat it as an intervention. I want you to be honest with yourself. 95% of the things you're fixing, they're not scenario C. They're not one-way doors. To make this practical, I want you to adopt a develop versus rescue mindset. When you see work that isn't up to your standard, I want you to pause. And if you find yourself wanting to jump in, grab the mic and say, hey, just send it to me, I'll finish it, that is a rescue. Instead, think about how you can develop your person, right? How can you actually develop them? So in other words, you identify the gap, but you leave the ownership with them. You're the band manager. You point out that the guitar is out of tune, you don't tune it for them. So if you're a new leader and you're still rewriting slide decks at 8 p.m., you're not the hero. You're being a bottleneck. And eventually, if this behavior continues, the band's gonna quit because nobody wants to play with a manager who keeps grabbing the mic. So if you want to know exactly where you stand, whether you are a band manager or a wannabe lead singer, I have my free guide assessment for new leaders. In 2 minutes, it'll show you exactly where you're stuck in doer mode, and it'll give you the specific steps to shift. The link is in the description and on screen. Because if everything runs through you, nothing scales beyond you, and you stay stuck. Now, I know a lot of emotions can come up when we're talking about delegating work. It feels scary, there's fear, there's all the things that I talked about before. If you want to get a handle on those emotions, check out my video on controlling your emotions as a new leader. Thanks for watching.